Welcome back, everybody, to All Y'all Recording. We're back, and we seem to only get together for reviews nowadays. The whole crew's here, and we have an addition. Um,
Yes, Wyatt and Janine decided to show up.
we'll go around. My name's DevTheDoc.
I'm Phil.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Forrest.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Janine.
And that voice in the middle, that was Forrest. You've heard him before. He's been on before. He's a great guy and tends to have some great insight to the show. And
I love him.
love is a beautiful thing. Speaking of love, that's what Deadpool is all about.
It's a family movie. Damn it.
The first one was all about love. This one was all about family.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Deadpool 2. It's out. I can finally talk about this.
Yeah.
Been waiting for months and months and months. Well, I guess
It was like 3 months.
2 months.
2 months, not even 3? Oh.
I guess
Weeks and weeks and weeks.
no. It was torture because y'all made it so hard. That crap. Let me put some story behind this. I was fortunate enough to get into a screen. I can talk about this now since the movie's released. I was able to get into a screening, and I saw an early screening of Deadpool 2. So, and that was 2 months ago. So now that it's out, sit and talk about it. I want to go around and get everybody's non-spoiler reaction / review or whatever. Let's start with the folks who got here last.
Non-spoiler reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. It was a good movie. Lots of stuff happened. It was great.
It made me less sad than Avengers.
It's true.
I think this movie was that break in between the movies was good because if this came out the week later than like it was supposed to beginning of May, we'd still be reeling Infinity War, trying to get into Deadpool.
Yeah.
So that extra week helped a little bit.
But I thought it was a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Go see. Go see Avengers: Infinity War. Cry about it a little, and then go see Deadpool. It'll lift your spirit.
Sounds correct.
I thought the movie was good. I thought it was enjoyable. Compared to the first Deadpool, probably because of the subject matter, I don't think that it got as many belly laughs from me as the first one. It was funny. It was definitely entertaining. But I don't know. It didn't grab me the way the first one did. And I think that might come up to several reasons. And we can talk about that once we get into spoilers.
I thought it was great. I think the first Deadpool really was a game changer. I've said pretty much every time we've done a movie review about Marvel that I kind of hated the whole setup of the superhero and everything's all aligned and everything like that. So Deadpool was really cool because it's totally unique. But the second one I thought was still really great. It's definitely different from the first one. Deadpool has a lot more changes and things in this one, but I really love the characters that were introduced. Sorry, and just kind of the everything that happened that we'll get into later. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. There's nothing more I can say other than that, other than go and watch it. It's hilarious. It's maybe not bring your kids.
Don't bring your kids.
Maybe not.
If you bring your kids to a Deadpool movie, you are.
There
was
was
a sign in the bathroom warning people not to bring their kids to Deadpool.
Well, the theater that we went to, there was a family with 3 kids in front of us.
Right in front of them, they were excited.
Listen,
They were
if you're listening to this and you're a parent who brought your kids to Deadpool, I hate you.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun.
I think it was a good time. My biggest thing is, of course, it's not going to have that same feel that the first one does, just because it was such a surprise and such a long time coming. Ryan Reynolds himself is he is Deadpool, just like Hugh Jackman was Wolverine, or Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. There are people who fit these roles, and you don't see anybody else doing it. So it's a fun time. It got laughs out of me, really fun laughs, a great surprise in the middle there that we'll talk about later. And I'm not going to say don't go see it. Definitely go see it.
Yeah,
It's
for
fun time. It's a welcome departure from the end of Infinity War because we talked a long time on that one.
Yeah.
And we needed fun to break that up.
Yeah.
Just like I feel like and the Wasp will be just as fun. So something to break us away from the feels.
Yeah.
Because it was definitely needed. That's all I can say non-spoiler wise. So I guess we'll break into spoilers.
Warning. Warning. This is your national spoiler warning. Warning. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
I thought you were doing the purge.
Oh, no.
Purge.
Alright, so who wants to
Juggernaut!
That was
The last one for Infinity War 2. As soon as she wants to start, like, Gamora died! You can't help yourself, can you? You should just direct that to Caitlin every time. Just let her have it. She wants it the most.
The weather reporter on Family Guy.
It's alright! Juggernaut!
Oh, no.
Gamora died!
Listen, and now to Ollie with the weather. Ollie, it's gonna rain!
Thank you, Ollie.
But yeah, that was the big surprise to me. It was
Yeah.
Juggernaut when I first saw it. I was like, they actually did that? It threw me off. I like his design, even though he's just a big CGI guy.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about Juggernaut as a character. I don't really know much about Juggernaut, period. But I know that there was a lot of hype built up around him. I know that he was in like the original X-Men cartoons. He was in the original X trilogy, and there was a bunch of parodies surrounding him that even gave rise to him having a specific line in X3. There's a bunch of hype built up around this guy, but he didn't feel that dynamic in this one. I mean, if he explained that, yes, I will join this little kid with fire hands in order to turn him into a villain like me, that might have made sense. But no, he's like, oh, you gave me a plate of food? Yeah, no, I'll help you break out. I'll put my life on the line. There was another guy that hurt you? Yeah, no, let's trek across country so we can go and hurt that guy a little bit.
Listen, the comics Juggernaut was a very animalistic type. He was just kind of, ooh, I'm a big man. I want to smash things. But like in the one in the last Juggernaut that we saw in the X-Men movies, he was just this dude that was just smashing through walls and then hit a wall too hard and then he was knocked out. And
that was because he got his power taken away by the little kid.
Yeah, but that was all we saw.
There wasn't even animalistic. The most animalistic thing was that he ripped Deadpool in half. All things considered, that's not very animalistic because Deadpool just comes back.
More cavemen then. He's just a dumb brute, basically.
I was fine with him only because coming from a comic book fan, he's had enough time in other movies. We get the gist of it, especially if you read the comics.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that he needed to be expanded on too much. Well, mainly because there were so many other characters in it. Even though a few of them only lasted a few minutes. But
yeah, and he's never really needed a backstory. He's never been that character. He's always just been that character that's smash shit. So
I think that goes back to the context of the whole film with Deadpool in general. It's just you're meant to go in and have a good time. You're not supposed to get anything that's riveting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most backstory that you get about Juggernaut is Xavier's my brother, but he's in a wheelchair.
It's I wear this helmet because I don't want him to read my mind.
And that's the only thing you ever need to know.
Yeah. Xavier is my half brother.
He has this incredibly complex backstory. Even though he's with the mutants, he himself is not a mutant. He's got his powers through some stone which holds a demon and stuff. It's super complex. He runs through walls. That's
all you need to know for this.
He's a human wrecking ball.
Yeah. But again, I think that bringing him in and just having him as that smashed it kind of character, which is kind of what he's been known for. I think that was perfect for a Deadpool movie. If they tried to pull him into the new X-Men movie or something like that, then it would just kind of we don't really care enough about Juggernaut for him to be this whole developed character, but just having him come in kind of
this world.
Yeah, and just where it's just crash and burn the whole time anyways. So, but
that was a big surprise.
Yeah.
But think my big surprise though was the X-Men.
Yes, yeah, that was also
Talking
fun.
about it is the whole team, but then like,
Close the door.
I was telling Devin that on the way home, like that happened so fast. I had no chance to even know everyone in that scene. All I saw was Beast and Xavier. I have no idea who else was in the
There
room.
was
Quicksilver was in there.
Quicksilver and
Like, pretty much-
Cyclops,
yeah, all the ones from
all
the
the new X-Men.
which they should be much older considering.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Like, what time are they in?
Well, that's not really
There was a
actually
stop
clear,
time.
because like they don't like have much technology.
Well, with the newer X-Men films, of course, there's First Class, which is in the 60s. Oh God, I forgot the name of it. No, Apocalypse was the third one.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past was in the 70s. And then Age of Apocalypse, not Age of Apocalypse, but Apocalypse was in the 80s. And the Phoenix one that's coming next year is supposed to be in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for Deadpool to like be in the 90s. Maybe because Captain Marvel's going to be in the 90s. It's all together.
I doubt it.
No, Deadpool's totally like outside of the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't make sense because of this Deadpool is after X-Men Origins Wolverine, which takes place. It's a whole continuity.
Yeah,
This screwed up
Never
everything.
try to figure out the timeline with Deadpool. Like they're just gonna throw it. They had those cast members there to record for the film, so they just put
Just for
them
the
in
sake
there.
of the joke.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly. But yeah, and another thing that I loved was that Thanos is Cable. So, like,
Zip it, Thanos.
it was just kind of, it was a great, just kind of like, yeah, they don't care at all that there's like, continuity or anything like that in the
But
Deadpool. So.
this is Josh Brolin's song.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got to be the bad guy. I killed half the Marvel universe, and now I have to go save.
Yeah, he kills all the good people and then saves Deadpool, basically.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Let's go ahead and talk about X-Force.
Oh my god. Fucking the ash-ridden suit that he had at the end was just the X-Force suit. His X-Force suit. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And that made me really happy to see it.
It's like if you don't know comics, you don't know. It's like, why is he just so? The black and white works. It looks great. It's great and dynamic, but that's a reference to his X-Force costume.
Well, and so that was really confused. Like when everyone was dying, I was like, "Wait a minute! Like they're supposed to last longer than this, though. Like, what's happening?"
Only Domino.
Yeah.
My second favorite character in the entire movie. First being Colossus.
Well, like when Terry Crews goes, it's like, "Wait a minute, what's happening?" And they all start dying. I was like, "Wait."
Everything goes to shit real soon.
The moment they land.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was great though.
And even in the trailers, they show you a little bit more. Now, in the original version that I saw, when Weasel and Deadpool are going through headshots and all that, you get a scene of them, the character, doing whatever their thing is, instead of them just kind of standing there interviewing with Deadpool and Weasel. And who doesn't love Peter? But they cut that part out, which is weird to me. Oh, another big surprise, they just brought in Vanisher.
Oh yeah.
In the original edit I saw, you don't know who Vanisher is. You just see he hits the lines, he's dead. I did not know it was going to be Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I had no
Like, it
idea.
was so quick too. Like 10 seconds later, I was like, "Was that Brad Pitt?"
To get him to play such a small role.
It's so great.
It makes me wonder, like, for those people that are like, "Oh, I'm gonna be in this movie," or "I'm in this movie," and then like these are the really famous people like Terry Crews and Brad Pitt and everything. It makes me wonder, do they get frustrated or mad that they're only in the movie for such a short time?
Yeah, this is
Cruz
probably
has been like,
side
he's been
project.
like going around interviewing. He seems proud to be in the Deadpool movie. Like he's like, yeah. I mean, he's also talking about the cop show that he's in,
Oh,
but Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But like, it was also like, yeah, I'm in Deadpool. It's so great. Ah! And he's, like,
That's what
there
Terry
for
Crews
5
sounds like.
minutes. Well, I can't reach Terry Crews level. So.
Power!
And then you have to flex your pecs for less.
Yeah.
And then his shirt just explodes off of him.
So what would have to be the greatest moments for y'all? I know we did this for Infinity War, so
Anything that Domino did.
okay, yeah.
Anything that she
The
did
whole
was my
sequence
favorite.
is he's like commenting like, "Oh, this would never work cinematography," and like just like
I'm in. You're what?
Yeah.
Here's a new plan. Use your whatever imaginary powers that you have to stop Cable.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
But I gotta ask, because I never really looked into Domino, because I'm not a big fan of like the mercenary characters, because they're just not very inventive, you know?
Doing it for the money.
Yeah, no, just like their whole power set isn't very popular. They're guns and swords, you know?
Yeah.
Like all of them are guns and swords. It's like,
Straight
really,
movies.
couldn't give like Spider-Man the mercenary spot or Thor or something? Like, I want to see some lightning or some fire or something.
They all can't be that fantastic,
That's
alright?
because it's comics.
Yeah.
You can blame Rob Liefeld for that.
But yeah, like, so is Domino in the comics as ridiculous?
No, not as nowhere near as ridiculous.
Alright.
But she is a major part of X-Force. She made her debut in X-Force, if I remember correctly. And the luck thing plays out in comics, but you can do whatever you want in comics. An artist can visually put that out there instead of the whole Final Destination thing we had going on in the because one moment leads to another moment, which leads to another moment. In the comics, it's because luck, because comics.
I loved how fluid it was though in the movie. Like, and she was just the whole time she's like, "Yeah, I did that." Like, I like
I don't know.
that.
Sometimes she even questions like, "Wow, this is gonna pay off, but it's gonna pay off."
The whole
We need a
bus.
bus.
The whole.
Well, then, like, when she was falling in the panda thing, she like turned around, she goes, "Oh."
Well, all right then.
No, I love her, like, her smug look throughout the whole entire film.
Yeah.
Like, she's running, she's just having a nice job.
A nice job through the city.
Cars, people are dying around her. There's literally people in cars having accidents, being T-boned and stuff. Oh, what a beautiful day.
That reminds me of the whatever her running through at the very beginning of the movie. One of my favorite scenes is that dude running in slow motion while everything around him is in regular time.
Oh.
That was one of my favorites. He's just sitting there going, "No!" and the Deadpool in the back just stabbing people and just throwing them as fast as possible.
I know my favorite scene. It's hard to say because Deadpool tries to mature and touch up on heavier moments, like he loses Vanessa, and he goes through this whole depression thing. That's like, Wade Wilson, you can't be sitting here sad too long. You start to feel bad for him because he's depressed. He's walking around the X Mansion, and even though he's in this mood, you kind of want to be in it with him, but you remember this in Deadpool, you need to laugh. So they're forcing laughs, and they're like, when he's in Xavier's chair, he's kind of riding around. You know he's depressed, but he knocks over.
That was broken when it fell there.
And that's the great thing about Deadpool is that, in this movie you kind of realize, like, he's been miserable this whole time, but through this whole time he's been making us laugh because that's how they even say how that's how he accepts his pain is through
The person's humor.
laughter and stuff like that. And so, he seems totally fine. He's just like, I'm just joking around. I'm just knocking over statues of old white men, but the whole time it's been from the beginning that he's this miserable, guy, but he seems fine, the whole thing. So that was kind of a weird moment when I kind of realized that, because that was a scene that I was kind of like going like, oh, like, yeah, like Deadpool's like, he's not had a good life, like, so, but you're still able to laugh and joke around and stuff. So got a little heavy there, though.
Yeah.
I
It kind of makes me wonder how they'll kind of play into that in the future, because throughout the comics, Deadpool, constant agony for the guy, and the only way that he's able to survive is kind of just like warping himself into this just constantly comedic figure. And in the comics, like, the love of his life is an actual personification of death. And the juxtaposition is that he can't die, so therefore he can never have her, but he's always constantly longing for her because, death would be the release. Death would be the end of the pain and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know. I think the way it looks is that Vanessa might be in a perfect position to take on that role of death, or kind of whatever the MCU wants that relationship to be like. And I'd be really interested in that happening so that we have Deadpool in the real world, constantly fighting, struggling, cracking jokes, and then every so often he'll get a little bit of actual emotional moments while talking with his idea of death joining Vanessa. And so if they continue that kind of relationship they had of there's this barrier between him and her, but they can still talk, I think that'd be very, very interesting.
Well, isn't in the comics, like, isn't Thanos with death too? Or like
There's
he's
like a
in
whole love
with...
triangle between the three of them.
Yeah,
where
like I'm
Thanos
just thinking
is
like
in love
that.
with
Maybe
death.
that's how Deadpool gets into the rest of the story. No, we're just trying to find a way. But yeah, but like it was kind of heavy though. Like there's moments like the other one, you know, it was there's times where I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like he's being tortured and like he can't like go and talk to her and stuff. But this one was like kind of felt something. You know, I was like, ooh.
Who knew a Deadpool movie can make you feel anything?
I know, right? Yeah.
But that was a huge surprise. But I think my favorite stuff would have been the action in it because it's very different from the first Deadpool movie. And that's I give that to the director himself because the director who directed Deadpool 2 did John Wick. And I love the action in John Wick.
Yeah. I would also credit to the budget. It's pretty clear that the budget for Deadpool 2 was leagues beyond Deadpool 1.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about the kind of studio's mentality towards R-rated superhero films. And I mean, with the success of Deadpool 1 and Logan, and now Deadpool 2, those first two paved the way for Deadpool 2. But now that we've had 3 solid, successful movies, I think that we can start to see more R-rated superhero movies coming through, which I'm excited for because it allows you to explore a lot more options in terms of humor, in terms of action, bloodshed, and things like that. It can make things much more real.
I feel as long as Hollywood doesn't do Hollywood and just think everybody needs an R-rated. Not everybody needs an R-rated.
It can only work for certain
It's like
characters.
while I would expect an R-rating for Spawn, I don't expect an R-rating for Squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. I want an R-rated Squirrel Girl. But squirrels attack. Rip somebody open.
Well,
She's constantly making jokes about nuts.
touching on the budget, the CGI in the movie bothered me. Like not the characters, that was okay-ish. Some parts like took me out, but like whole CGI cars was really disturbing. It bothered me.
Yeah, like pretty much the whole. I mean, anytime when they're on the street, you could tell like they were trying to like, well, we could have done this, but we're just going to CGI this car in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we could have done this
Practical.
Yeah, I think Deadpool could have benefited from a slightly larger budget. I can tell, like, you know, the budget was larger because you had more and bigger sets, but you can tell that's where the money was put and not so much into the visual effects. I felt the visual effects were better in the last movie, like especially Colossus. I thought Colossus looked better in Deadpool 1 than Deadpool 2, and with Juggernaut, his animation was off.
Yeah.
You know, Colossus animation was beautiful, but it might just be because he's a big metal dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But because Juggernaut was more organic, he just
He
looked a
kind of
little
looks
off.
squishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't as bad as the chick from.
Oh, the horn chick from
Oh,
Infinity War.
What's that come across on midnight?
Yeah.
I'm still salty about that.
It's been 3 weeks and still salty
It's
about
pretty
that.
bad though. Like I was rewatching the movie and I was like, it's really bad.
But Forrest did bring up a good point about movies heading into that R-rated world. Is there anything, as far as comic book films go, but I know Janine's going to say Spawn, but is there anybody that you would like to see take that jump into the R-rated?
Well, we kind of saw a little bit of that with Punisher on his Netflix series. That was definitely some R-rated content, but it did a good job of displaying the Punisher. It's a very interesting story. It allowed the story to go down avenues that PG-13 wouldn't have allowed. And so I think if you just have anyone that's kind of Punisher-oriented, I think that they could go into an R rating. I think that Batman could kind of go into an R rating. Because, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, he doesn't kill, but he kind of beats them bloody and leaves them in the snow. And then if you look at some of his enemies, Christopher Nolan did a great job with Joker and with Batman, but if you think of like the Arkham Asylum games, that whole series, if that was adapted into a film, which could be a great story if you have the right tempo for it, I can see a lot of that crossing into an R rating, especially with some of the stuff the villains do and just some of the way the villains are. Like they tried to, I think they kind of tried to sexy up Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, and we saw how the audience responded to that.
Sexy, so.
Well, but I mean, if you start looking at Batman's villains, and I think this kind of applies to R-rated superhero films in general. If you look at Batman's villains, they are severely broken people, and kind of hitting the sounding note that you had last episode with Infinity War, where you want more sympathetic victims, you want or villains, and you want villains that are more compelling and things like that. If you have the stereotypical comic book villain and you look into their backstory, which is usually very R-rated, and the things that happen to them and shaping them into this terrible person, that's where you get that sympathy. The ability to explore the dark and dirty pasts of these extremely psychologically broken people could allow for that deeper immersion into the ideas of the villain and bring a better understanding of why they do what they do. But you've got to be able to go there. And I think that an R rating could kind of facilitate that if creators want to go down that avenue.
Also, hear me out. When Spider-Man goes to college.
Well,
She can get weird.
Now you have to explain.
Well, I mean,
Who wants to see a Peter Parker sex scene?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, but he might be experimenting, with sex stuff or drug stuff. It might just Iron Man might be on his last.
I got the keg. Watch this kid drinking while standing on the ceiling.
I mean, it could be a Party X or whatever that movie was kind of situation. With the house parties, during the party. Things can happen, man. So.
But does that draw the line with these characters' lives getting a little too realistic, a little too close to home? Because we don't, as much as there are a lot of folks who say they want to see that from their heroes. I enjoy damaged heroes; they're my favorite kind. But not everybody can handle seeing, the fact that Bruce Wayne sits home alone every night, sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, people want to live vicariously through superheroes. That's why superheroes were created to begin with, just people wanting to be better than they are. And so then when they read, like, a Superman or Spider-Man or whatever comic, they would be like, man, I want to be like him. So they don't want to be like, oh, well, I don't want to have to think about my family all being dead and, horrible things happening. But at the same time, too, when you raise those stakes, and like with Logan, when the stakes were raised so high, it gets into this whole other realm of what does it take to be a hero? And that kind of goes into the real world in the sense that we're going to have times where the lines are blurred and it's not black and white, and we won't really know which decision to take, so we just got to take the best one that we can.
Even in Deadpool, this funny film that was it was meant mostly for comedy. We have the character of Russell, who was abused, at least physically. There was no specific mention of any other kind of abuse, though it was implied.
They said pedophiles.
Yeah, a lot.
So, yeah.
But, I mean, this physically abused child is faced with the choice that a lot of people in pain have to face. Do you lash out, or do you try and find it within yourself to provide forgiveness? And heroes chose forgiveness in some sort of sense. They chose to try and use their energy and efforts for the betterment of other people, whereas villains chose, no, revenge. I'm going to be selfish and do what I want. And even Russell claimed about how he was going to make the world his bitch. He wanted to be able to have a world made in his own idea, his image. And that we just had that was like a small running thread through Deadpool, but it was able to be explored because of that R rating, and that could be applied to other movies. We see a lot of superhero origin films, but I think it would be a very interesting tone shift if we saw some villain origin films.
Like something Ford said earlier with Batman, this current universe of DC, I think could really benefit from an R rating, because it's a lot darker, right? And this Batman does in fact kill. We've seen him use a sniper rifle. we've seen him run over people with his Batmobile, you know? So something has happened that's changed this particular Batman. Even we've seen Superman kill for the first time in who knows how many years, you know? So I'm thinking, you know, even Wonder Woman, I feel could have even benefited a little bit more, you know, simply because it's you know, dealing with war and stuff like that. Being this really dark tone, I think taking that extra step, really seeing the death and destruction, you know, that's happening, really, you know, you never really see, like in Superman, right? You never really see anybody die. You see all these buildings crash. You see some people, you know, slamming on brakes, getting in fender benders, you know. But
I don't know my insurance premiums.
yeah, but like, you know, Batman versus Superman would have been so much more impactful if we saw, you know, people jumping out the buildings, you know, trying to, you know, die on
Well,
their
you
own
did see that
terms.
in that movie. At the very beginning, whenever Batman rolls up on the scene, he's like, "I gotta get my employees out of my building," and he's like, "Oh, everyone, well, everyone except one is out. I need to see if he can get him out." And he's like, "I can't," and he prays to God, and he just jumps.
But like,
But that's
More
the
on a
only
larger
count.
scale.
yeah,
I mean, like-
on a larger scale, seeing, you know, on a, I guess, a more 9/11 kind of deal.
Well, like
you
with
know?
the Age of Ultron and Civil War, you see the before and after, but you don't see like what was going on during.
Yeah,
So
and that's one thing I want to touch on, is Civil War, because we were watching it last night, or it was just on in the background. But they were showing all the films of all the, you know, destruction and stuff like that, and I was like, you know what, I don't feel a lot for
Yeah.
this. You know, the actors put on a good performance of being sad. You know, but like even when was Sokovia was like raising up, you know, they were looking sad, like, oh no, and I was like, I didn't see anybody get hurt.
But I
Did
think
did everyone evacuate, and
Right.
is property damage, or?
Because like after the Age of Ultron, like I mean, maybe it might just be because like the superheroes didn't think about it either. But like I didn't even think about like all the hundreds of people that died from that, you know. And so it's just like, you know, if they were able to have that R rating and be able to say, you know, look, I mean, even if it was afterwards, even if it was in Civil War where they're showing like videos of people like getting thrown from their houses and things like that, and or show the guy's family, you know, getting smashed under the house or whatever happened to them, that would have made it so much more like this is a problem. Whereas we're just like kind of scratching our heads, going like, "Wait, why are they fighting again? Like, what's going on?" So
Brings
like this generation of Marvel, I think, is fine exactly where it's at. But eventually, this generation of Marvel has to end, and it's Hollywood. Reboots are never going to die. So, you know, even if they reboot the cinematic universe when I'm dead, I'd still like it to be, you know, a rated R.
Basically, you want the universe itself to grow up.
Yeah.
Because there have to be ways to tell more mature stories. And you're not going to get that out of a PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
PG-13 says, hey, parents, you can bring your kids. It'll be perfectly fine. They may see somebody die. But with an R rating, you're going to see somebody die. You're going to see folks go through genuine pain. And that works for viewers, in my opinion. It works for viewers like me who understand pain like that.
Yeah.
But for a parent who wants to take their child because their child only knows that it's superheroes in this movie, it's a little tougher.
Yeah.
Well, and also too, like it's just then it also comes back to the idea of like, what do you want your audience to feel? Like, do you want them to kind of like know something's wrong, but not actually feel unless they've been through that kind of situation, or do you want that situation to be real for the audience? And so I think like that was, I mean, when I saw Logan, I was like, yes, because it was so raw and real, and I was like, this is what I have been wanting. You know, didn't really know exactly what it was, but it's like it was kind of like this moment of like, now I understand what this character's going through, what the stakes are, the pain,
Wolverine didn't feel like a comic book character anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the same time too is that we don't. If you're trying to make the stakes so high, like with again Civil War, the stakes aren't high at all. Like we're not feeling it. Like we don't really. It's like okay, yeah, that it was sad and that shouldn't have happened. But if you're wanting the audience to feel how the characters feel, that kind of like, oh my gosh, like this, we killed these people, kind of thing. Then you have to get to that level. So.
What do you think, Bo?
I'm just listening. I'm just here listening.
I'm so engaged in the conversation. I don't know what's going on. No, that got serious real quick.
Yeah, it really did.
So what was another funny moment in Deadpool?
So probably my favorite moment, right? Peter walks in, right? They ask him what his superpowers.
I know. It's
Depender. They're like, oh yeah, you're in.
He's like, damn it!
I think Depender was probably my favorite secondary character. I mean, the guys with the powers were fun and stuff, but I mean, you go to a superhero movie to see people with powers, but Depender had these great little moments where it's like, I would have made you better. I was like, all right, I like that. That's funny.
Well, and also him taking out the headmaster with the car.
Yeah. I want more.
Yeah.
But that's the person I should really be worried about.
Yeah, not.
So another moment, I wanted to see how you guys felt about this, was when he was regrowing his legs.
Okay. Before we get
right.
I have one thing to say. The one thing that I felt, not necessarily held the movie back, but just reminded me too much of the first one, is that there are beats in this movie that feel like, man, we did this in Deadpool 1.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's okay. This is your style, that's fine. Now, getting to that scene, that's the other thing that was cut differently. In the cut that I saw originally, that leg cross took a hell of a lot longer. You saw a lot more baby penis than you were expecting to see. But it got a laugh out of everybody. But I think I don't know why they cut it the way they cut it, but they did. That basic instinct moment.
See, and that was the thing too, because I figured with the movie like Deadpool, they were gonna have a lot of the same beats, a lot of the same jokes and stuff like that. But I never felt like it was just like, okay, you did that already. It was like, yeah, you did that, but you made it into a new thing, like with the legs. I mean, it was the same thing. He was sitting on the couch with her, but then it just got a little grosser. Like it was just a little bit more weird, a little bit more gross.
He's like, massage my leg.
Exactly.
And she just says,
yeah. Like just like a little bit more like with those things, and so they just kind of took it to the next level, and I thought that was
but only Deadpool could do that.
only Deadpool.
Yeah.
You can't see any other characters pulling this off except
Right.
for Deadpool.
Right.
But it's a great scene.
I like the little scenes between him and Colossus. They are different now.
Yeah, and that's another thing too that I loved about this movie is that they show his pansexuality. That's all through the comics. And like in the first one, it was like he's definitely a straight man, and for this one, he's like grabbing his butt, and, like going, "Oh, you saved me," and all this other stuff. And so I love that because that was one of my favorite parts in the comics of him just going like, "Oh, hello," and he's like blushing, and so
The fight between Colossus and the Juggernaut. What'd you guys think about that?
Big fun of CG.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
It hurt me. It hurt me when he got his tooth knocked out. And I was like, oh God, that's metal. I was like, get that replaced. What does that feel like? Does he feel pain?
Also, I want to point at the end of that fight, he had a fucking legitimate dent in his forehead.
Yeah.
like, does he heal? Like, has he ever had to?
Like, what does that feel like when he turns back into his normal human form?
In the Deadpool X-Men universe,
He doesn't.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's insane.
he's a metal man all the time, which
I'm totally fine with.
his anatomy will be extremely weird when he changes back to a regular human being, because I feel like size-wise, either his arms are too short, and this is me studying anatomy, his arms are either too short, or his torso is too big. Something bothers me from the waist up, because I feel I think his legs are too small.
Yeah, I think that's where you're getting
This is
at.
just like that.
Yeah, Colossus skills, but like that.
I'm sorry, can you mind saying that again?
You heard what I said. But it's just something about Colossus' anatomy throws me off. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong.
But what do y'all think about Fire Fist?
I love the New Zealand accent.
Yeah.
That's one of the accents I need to learn to master. That was my favorite part of Fire Fist. But the fact that,
The fact that he was New Zealand.
No, but when he was in prison and he's trying to be the hardest prison kid, he's trying so hard. And it's like, Predator come up, bitch, he gets knocked out by the biggest guy, the second biggest guy in New York. And he's trying so hard.
Love that kid's determination. Gets punched down once, comes back up, gets punched down again. It's like, huh?
He taught me a new term, prison wallet.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Never heard the term prison wallet before.
But you know now. So if you ever need anything out of your prison wallet,
Don't hand it to me. I don't want it.
I enjoy the kid. He did really well. You know, to make fun of the fact that he was a plus size character was interesting to me. Because, yeah, of course, in these comic book movies, all you see are sexy people all the time.
I love how you talk about how society holds them down.
The industry is biased.
Yeah, the industry is biased.
Yeah, it's just making those comic book related jokes. This is stuff you wouldn't see anywhere else, and that's what makes this movie.
Well, and the great thing about a movie like Deadpool is that, you know, you can, it's like with stand-up comedians, you can joke about something that's entirely serious, and so it's like you can throw things out there like that, like, yeah, there's like complete bias against people who aren't just like, built Thor, you know, kind of. Yeah, what were you saying?
That joke about Domino, where he's like, who came up with this? It's probably some dude who couldn't draw people. I died.
Me too. That's a Rob Liefeld joke. If you don't know who Rob Liefeld is, he's the creator of Deadpool. Created him in the 90s, but he's infamous for drawing characters with lots of pockets and just straps everywhere. That's a big 90s thing.
Yeah.
But he also has terrible issues with anatomy. There's a drawing that he did of Captain America where his chest is way out this big, and the anatomy is just so bad. But he continues to make comics to this fucking big. And he's like, how does he get a job at comics? But there are people I know who are better, who can't get a foot in the door. Hey.
So you know.
But that was
Wasn't he the same dude who did that one Wonder Woman picture where she's walking on the beach?
Mm-hmm. And her feet are like completely buried in the sand.
Yeah.
The stupidest thing, right? It's obviously a flat beach, right? It's this big, beautiful picture of Wonder Woman, and then it just cuts off. Like when it gets to the feet, it just cuts off. It looks like her feet are buried, but she's obviously walking forward.
Yeah.
That's
so funny.
That's one thing that Converse did in the 90s is if you knew your anatomy was bad, you found ways to hide it. If your femme fatale is posing in a certain way and you can't draw hands, you put that hands behind that butt. You're going to see it.
Yeah.
That's just what they did. And Rob Liefeld is infamous for that.
The favorite moment?
That's what she was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Never got around to. We ventured off like we always do. I've said my favorite. I love the action. Anything Cable was doing with his action, especially in that prison scene,
mm-hmm.
But that's because it reminded me of John Wick.
I loved the parachuting down moment. That was my favorite. I think it was just kind of, Terry Crews bit it, and then he looks up and they're all like swirling around. And it was great because you didn't really think about it until then, but they had said 4 or 5 times that the wind blew really high. And so it was just perfect. And then all the deaths were really unique, and it was just really funny. So
I'm trying to think of what my favorite is. I don't know. You might have to come back to me on that one. How did you guys feel about the fight scenes in this movie? They didn't feel as compelling to me as Deadpool 1. And I think that was because it was superheroes versus other superheroes. And Deadpool was actually kind of lame at it. I mean, he resisted against Cable, but that's because that's what Deadpool does. He gets bent and broken, he just springs right back. But Cable just manhandled Wade Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you had to have Domino come in, and you had to have Juggernaut come in, and all these other people come in, and Colossus in order to keep up. Whereas in the first one, Deadpool was able to handle everyone. Yes, they were just kind of regular mercenaries, but the fights felt far more relatable because we have actual humans with human limitations that Deadpool is overpowering. But now that he's against someone else that's superpowered and there's more and more superpowered people, the fights aren't as compelling because we don't have anything to relate to in terms of these people's durability, technology, abilities, and things like this.
Well, the thing about Wade Wilson is that he was highly trained before he became Deadpool. So he was able to have the upper hand on the humans because he's special forces, he was an assassin or whatever he was beforehand. And so he was able to do that. So yeah, I mean, comparatively to humans, he's kind of like the top dog, but it's not his powers at all that help him get the upper hand.
Except when he gets shot.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, as far as his fighting goes, like his fighting skills.
I think it was the choreography. Because in Deadpool 1, there really isn't a whole lot of action. When you sit down and like really take a look at it, the action is very short and it's really straightforward. Right.
It's usually at the end of the fight too, like when he's like beating someone up.
It's not a whole lot of flipping and stuff like that. It's really bare bones, knuckle to face. Here there was a lot more flipping, a lot more verticality to things. Like you said, they switched directors, right? And you can really see that. I think the only thing really comparable to Deadpool 1 was the fight between Juggernaut and Colossus. Because that was really, really grounded and brutal. Otherwise it did have a whole different film.
Yeah, it felt more like a superhero movie, and I know we're getting in kind of the golden age of superhero movies with everything Marvel has been doing, but it still feels like a comic book visualizer. They can punch and twist and throw each other for, 10, 20 minutes. And they're still able to pick themselves back up because that's what superheroes do, kind of a thing. And it's less compelling. But like you said, with the Juggernaut and Colossus, where there was a real sense of consequence to the fight, that's where it became more compelling. And in Deadpool 1, we had a lot more fights like that. And yes, it was only we had the highway fight and we had the end fight versus Francis.
Yeah.
Those were the only real scenes of action outside of that montage of Deadpool hunting down Francis. But that one barely counts at all. But even in just those two scenes, you're fighting primarily against human people, so the actions have real consequence, and then a villain that could actually be beaten. And so that's what made it compelling. And so, the action looked amazing, but it wasn't as engrossing as the first one. So, looked amazing, but I think overall this film just didn't grab me as much as Deadpool 1. Maybe it was because all the stuff that hadn't been done before Deadpool 1 was now done because of Deadpool 1, in part because they're just pulling more and more superheroes into it, which is fun to look at, but it's not as relatable to us mere mortals.
But I also blame that on its soundtrack. Because in the first Deadpool, when a hard-hitting fight is going on, there's usually a really hard song going to it. Whereas, here we get like Dolly Parton.
Yeah, Dolly
Parton.
Well, while it's fun, of course, that's not going to be as compelling.
Yeah.
So, because I know each element of any scene is important. So music is just as important as the action. So, and if the music is off, you're kind of like,
yeah, I think the music's not the part that should be funny for the most of the scenes, except for that one song. But
it's like in the prison scene where he's fighting Cable, and then
which I thought was actually better than the first movie because you really got to see his powers.
Yeah,
because he broke his own arm just to
choke out Cable.
But they make a joke about dubstep, and then we get right into dubstep.
Yeah, that was great. I love that. Yeah,
and that's the only one that seemed compelling to me, just because it works well. Yeah, like I said, with the $9 to $5 part, it's fun. It's funny, but
yeah. Especially because that was like the first fight scene too. That I was kind of like
weird introduction.
Yeah. So. What?
Oh, my favorite part was the Colossus and Deadpool romance. That made me happy.
Anything that happened between the two of them?
Wait, that's about any interaction because Colossus is such a goody. That's why he's my favorite. But it's like Deadpool wants to
corrupt him.
Yeah.
Corrupt him as much as possible. It's like it's giving him a genuine.
He was like
hug.
about to die. Say fuck. Just once.
One time.
Stay with you.
Fuck.
Oh,
Enjoy hell.
he's going to hell.
I loved all of it.
Yeah, the part where Peter gets accepted.
Yeah.
You're in.
Fuck! He was going down in the parachute, just like he was
Yeah,
just like
he was stiff as a board.
He's like has his shirt tucked in, and just like yeah.
Just walk away. There's no Xbox.
We're not actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of scary, so that's good. Yeah.
We'll get on to that. So,
I've said it before. Anything that Domino did, and the fight between Colossus and Juggernaut, mainly because it's Juggernaut or Colossus just saying it's time to fight dirty. And at the end of that, he said, "This is how you do it in Mother Russia." I just love Colossus, the Russian accent, and just him as a character.
but getting to that ending.
Also, I'm sorry, but also more so that in this version of Colossus, I like more than the other X-Men version of Colossus, mainly because he's a giant metal man, other than just a dude that can turn into metal. That's just you like in
He's more believable as a comic book character here than he was in those original X-Men films, where it's like bad CG on top of the guy.
yeah, basically. Whereas an entire character that is entirely just CG.
But getting onto those mid-credits, and he gets a whole Cable's time slider
Yeah.
and decides he's going to go fix everything.
Yes. My favorite is at the very end, whenever Ryan Reynolds is in his office writing, he goes, "You made it to the big leagues," and then he gets shot, and it pans over to see that he's writing Green Lantern.
Well, I don't think it was just reading Green Lantern.
Yeah,
It's
he
like,
was
this
reading the
was
script because they
This
approached
was
him.
his foot into the comic book world.
Yeah.
And
No, I think that was him writing it.
no, he was reading.
Oh, he was reading
Yeah,
it.
I don't
Okay.
think Ryan Reynolds wrote Green Lantern.
Alright.
I think they gave him the script so that they could bring him on board.
Yeah, he was like, I'm finally gonna make
Yeah,
it.
I'm in the big leagues.
And Deadpool shoots him.
Yeah.
That and whenever Deadpool shoots Deadpool.
Yeah, the bad Deadpool we don't talk about.
I got to say, I quite enjoyed you two.
See, I'm
What,
yeah, she's so cute.
for all of her one line.
I
So cute.
I thought she was adorable. I felt like I was the only one who felt that. I'm not even saying anything about it. It's like, oh, so
No,
he's got a weird Asian fetish.
No, I thought she was
And I
adorable
loved-
too, but
I
like,
loved her X-Men uniform too. She was just so cute. Like,
And I think that's something that they need to do for these other movies. Is just let them have those bombastic uniforms. 'Cause they look really good. I mean, yeah, the all black leather thing was fun in the early 2000s, but we're at the point where comic book characters can look like comic book. Comic book characters can look like comic book characters, and just let them do it. Deadpool has proven that if this is the place we need to do it.
mhm.
That's why Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she looked great
Yeah, she did.
in both movies, and she looked even better in this one.
Yeah.
Which, I really wish she'd have done more with her.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, she got the one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And it's like, you've got that character there, just use it. Not everybody has to be that one woman, except for you. She's adorable.
so adorable.
But Deadpool's a fun time.
Yeah, I realize I voiced a lot of complaints and suggestions and ideas and stuff like that, but I genuinely did enjoy the
He's
movie.
a nitpicker.
I am definitely a nitpicker, and so I mean I'll break it down to its little tiny component parts and pick apart what's wrong and all that kind of stuff. But it is a
You
good
heard it
movie.
here
I
first.
enjoyed it.
Forrest hates the movie.
But no, that's what movies need. Otherwise, directors get complacent. It's like, oh, we can just pop out whatever people
That's
like.
true.
If you don't have an opinion towards these movies, then what's the point?
Mhm.
As long as it's we talked about this earlier, it's critique versus just an actual opinion. If you have a genuine critique and you've got something to say to help make that franchise or whatever that's being worked on better, then that's way more important than just saying, I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
Exactly true.
Ratings. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm not gonna give this one a rating because I'm not
It's
good.
unrated.
She killed your joke before you did it.
No, I was like, 'cause I don't know how to rate movies. Everything's a 10, except the really bad ones.
Which are all ones.
They're a 9.
You either get a 1 or a 10.
Yes.
In between.
Yes, there's no in between with me.
Well, we'll come back to you. No, we're not going to come to you.
Yes.
Caleb, what do you give it out of?
5.
Okay. Probably 4.5. I think I really like this style of movie. I love movies where there's both a really serious theme, but you can also just like totally shut your brain off and just like ignore it and have a really great time, anyways. I really like the way Ryan Reynolds has like come into this character as far as like we saw his career thus far. And I just think it was really a time. I love the characters and.
I think I have to go with a 3.5 because it is a good movie, most definitely, but it was not as original as the first one. It copied a lot of stuff that other superhero movies were doing, which makes sense. It is a superhero movie, but it also copied some of the stuff that it did with Deadpool 1. For example, I'm wondering what body part is going to be chopped off and regrown in baby form in Deadpool 3. It seems like it's something that they're just kind of reusing and recycling a little too much. So. Good movie, but it wasn't as fresh and as original as the first one. And I think if they branched out a little bit, that's something that they could have attained.
There is something I want to say about the regrowing body part things, where is in some cases where he regrows parts, in other cases that he can just put it back on, which is something that I wanted to see. Like I wanted him just
I don't understand why he didn't just like grab his legs too and like just put his legs together.
That's
that moment.
what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Because we would have gotten to see him Domino carry him. Like the time he really. I like the fact that he, at the very end, you noticed that he taped up his dinosaur because he's only got one.
Yeah. I saw.
Okay, all I got is duct tape.
That's one thing I noticed. This is the same suit as the last movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So every other superhero movie, like every time a new movie comes out with that superhero, you have to go and get a brand new suit to match, that movie. But Deadpool was the same, and I wasn't sure. I thought it was just.
It's like a bunch of girls going to prom trying to have similar matching dresses or anything like that. It's like, well, fuck, Superman got a new suit. I gotta go get a new suit.
No, I'm just saying, Captain America's in Infinity War was nice. He was just nice the whole time.
I kind of want one of those Captain Americas.
One of his nomads. So, what?
I'd probably give it a 4. You made some good points about the soundtrack. Felt like some of the music was a little inappropriate at the time. Overall, the story was alright. This is what I would expect from a comedy superhero movie. Nothing right home about, but still pretty good. Overall, I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I don't really have too much complaints because like you said, you gotta shut your brain off and enjoy it. Yeah, enjoy it for what it is. Whatever.
Janine?
I think I give it a 4.5. I was gonna give it a 4, but then like all the gay stuff with Colossus, like it gave it to.
I think her brain would have exploded if they
Yes,
kissed.
I was waiting for it to happen, but it didn't happen.
No, Colossus is just.
I don't think Colossus would have done it.
I think
Not willingly, anyways.
Wade would have been reaching for his spaceman and been like.
He would have dropped him at that point.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's a 4. It takes a lot for me for a movie to be perfect. But I know how to see a movie for what it is. And remember, for something like Deadpool, shut your brain down and have a good time. Because if you put logic into a movie like this, you're either going to be pissed that you watched it, or just sad because you have no idea what's going on. Because there's things that happen, and you're just like, what? What? So, go have a good time. That's what movies are supposed to be for at the end of the day. It's entertainment. If you're going for a life-altering experience, you're looking for the wrong thing.
Look no further than Deadpool.
Because it will change your life. But all in all, still, good time. Definitely a 4 for me. I'm going to try with you.
No.
Out of 5.
No.
Out of 5.
No. I mean, what more can I say other than the fact that I really enjoyed the movie?
So give it a 5.
Like
Give it a number.
I did. I said it's either a 5 or nothing, and I really enjoyed the movie, so it's gonna be a 5.
I like his rating system. It's go see it or don't.
And you know, that's fine because the world needs audiences like you too. Folks who just either they really enjoy it or they really don't.
All right.
You belong in this world too.
No.
But it was a good time. I'm glad to have everybody here. Everybody enjoyed the movie, which I'm thoroughly surprised because I know there are some folks who don't particularly care for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And if you don't like Ryan Reynolds, you won't like Deadpool because that is that man. I don't care what
I
anybody
don't know.
says.
I don't like his face.
I like this face. Not Deadpool's face.
Well, so I don't think anybody really likes
Sorry,
Ryan
I
Reynolds.
like Ryan Reynolds things too.
I told you that's my gay right there.
I don't see it. I don't see what you people are looking at.
I mean, gotta look closer.
I told you if I were to go gay, Ryan Reynolds.
Alright.
But
Until then. Until then,
and
Devin.
now I'm confused.
We know. It's okay. Come out of the closet.
But it's been a good time again. I'm DevTheDoc.
I'm Phil.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm forced.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Janine.
And we will tell you what, also, looking down
Damn
below.
it, Devin.
Oh, I almost did it. Down below is the links to everybody and all of their stuff. So let us know what you thought about Deadpool. If you like this podcast, like it, comment, subscribe. We want to hear more from you. We really appreciate it. I'm serious.
Oh, dicks.
We haven't talked about Dick at all. This is our first
We almost-
episode.
Bye, everyone.
We almost made it. We almost got out.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.